You know, it's fascinating. Russian submarines gliding into the Western Hemisphere
Yeah,
without any major political fuss, while a Chinese weather balloon crossing into US airspace sends shockwaves across the nation.
absolutely. It's like a tale of two extremes. One minute you're welcoming subs, the next you're scrambling over a balloon.
Exactly. And the underlying point here is how perceptions can be wildly different based on who's involved. The subs were invited by our Latin American neighbors, which basically shows a level
Mm-hmm.
of diplomatic ease. It's almost like a friendly nod in a turbulent world.
Right? But then you have the weather balloon, which raised such a fuss. It really makes you wonder if our public reaction is more about political theatrics than actual threats.
Yup, and that ties right in with the writer's call for a broader education on democracy. It's urging people domestically and around the globe to look deeper into why we're reacting so differently to similar incursions. It's a
Yeah.
thought-provoking contrast.
But then there's that twist about immigration. How do you square the notion that if Russia and China are making significant investments in Latin America, then why aren't local economies booming enough to keep immigrants at home?
That's the kicker. The argument is layered. It questions why, if our neighbors are welcoming superpowers and boosting their economies, the push for illegal immigration into the US remains so high. It's like, if opportunities are flourishing right next door, shouldn't people be staying instead? It's definitely counterintuitive.
Now, isn't that kind of a double standard? We're calm about submarines, but get all worked up over a balloon, and then we have this whole debate about border policies. It's almost like our political responses are more theatrical than logical.
Absolutely, and that theatricality underlines a deeper issue. The writer makes a bold case for educating the world about democracy, basically emphasizing that our reactions should be measured and value-driven
Yeah,
rather than rash. It's a plea for a smarter, more nuanced approach.
it's interesting, though, how the narrative ties in globalization and artificial intelligence. The article suggests that trends in AI and globalization are consolidating power in authoritarian regimes. Quite the cocktail of modern challenges, right?
Exactly, and the title itself, Reaching for a Nobel Peace Prize vibe, is intentionally bold. It ties together rising high-tech trends, global capitalism, and the enduring value of democracy. It really makes you
Indeed.
pause and reflect.
But let me question that a bit. Don't you think that idealism might oversimplify how complex regional issues are? Economic growth and shifts in migration patterns aren't like, flipping a switch.
That's a fair challenge. While the vision is inspiring, it's also a bit of an oversimplification. The argument is more of a rallying cry to reframe our perspective on international relations and domestic policies rather than a detailed policy roadmap.
Right.
It's more about stirring the conversation than offering all the answers.
And it forces us to think about the consistency of our reactions, inviting some actors in while rejecting others. It's a kind of political irony that begs further debate.
Absolutely. It's like you look at it and you wonder if focusing on shared democratic values might lead us to, say, more rational policies rather than knee-jerk reactions. It's all
Exactly.
about reevaluating where we stand.
And in that vein, the call for global education on democracy isn't just a local issue. It's about reimagining how nations interact, both politically and economically.
Right. It's like steering our collective mindset away from fear-based rhetoric. The idea is to embrace a broader, more interconnected approach to international relations and security,
Yeah,
a kind of reset for global dialogue.
it makes you wonder, what if, instead of escalating tension over a weather balloon, we focused on building bridges based on mutual respect and shared prosperity?
Precisely. The argument is essentially a call to adopt a more balanced approach, recognizing that not every incident should trigger a crisis, but rather be seen within the larger context of global cooperation and the pursuit of democracy. Exactly that.
There's definitely a lot to chew on here. It challenges us to think past the immediate drama and consider a future where diplomacy and technology work hand in hand to secure genuine global peace.
In the end, it's a compelling narrative, a blend of high-tech, diplomacy, and a hopeful push towards a more informed, less reactionary world. It's a conversation worth having, for sure.